like I have to dig. Like I don't even remember. Maybe there was like an imaginary elephant or something,
I
and the
feel like
kids were like in
that
a
sounds familiar.
basement freezing. I don't know. That's like the bottom of the barrel as far as like my memory goes. But I remember the song. I will remember a song or a jingle. I will forget
A
my name,
tune,
and I will tell
perhaps a
you how to
ditty.
call Stanley Steamer. You know what I mean? Like I will remember a jingle for my whole life.
I
Um,
mean, they did their job well.
yeah, right. So, I think the last, so I don't, I think that maybe my problem is that like certain, yeah, surely, like you said, there's been things that I've seen in movies where I'm like, ooh, that's creepy. I really don't like that. Like, there's a movie that I watched last night that I'll talk about. It ended up being like really stupid, dumb shit. But there was something in it that really freaked me out. And so there's like been things in movies that have like freaked me out, but I've never felt like I don't know. There's something about like being at home and watching it on like just a regular TV to me that just like doesn't do it. But it is different in the theater. Like when I saw Insidious the first time, it was in the theater and that scared the shit out of me. Like scared the shit out of me as in like I actually felt like adrenaline from being scared of certain things, which like doesn't happen a lot. And I think barely ever happens when I'm just like at home watching a movie. So like I just like don't know I don't know, man. She was tripping balls for sure. Like,
I mean, like,
but
I think the idea behind Skinamarink, where it's just like the whole premise is like these two like I don't know, I'm gonna guess like 8-year-olds or something, maybe just one. I don't know. It's like children wake up and their parents are gone, and then all of the windows and doors to the outside of their house disappeared.
Yeah,
oh
horrifying,
Well,
horrifying
yeah,
so
concept.
like I'm like I could get behind that, but like I know I'm gonna watch it and it's gonna be like Host, where everyone was like, "Oh my god!" Like if you watch Host like on your computer, where it's like you're on the Zoom call, it's the scariest thing ever. And I was like,
I
this
liked
is
Hosts, and I
just
wouldn't
jump
really
scare bullshit.
say that it was like the scariest thing ever. But yeah,
One movie every year has to come out where everyone's like, scariest movie that's happened since The Exorcist. I'm like, well, I know this is gonna be bullshit.
I mean, I feel like they say that about every movie, but
uh, I got some news for you. They are filled with tasty meat. Welcome to I Hope You Suffer.
it
Oh, perfect tagline.
is pretty good. I liked it.
It's also, you'd be a baka uma to eat these monsters. Squid, octopus, and crab monsters turn the National Stadium into a seafood bowl.
That's a tagline.
Spoiler,
Apparently.
spoiler alert.
That's like the whole
Like
movie.
Jesus Christ, yeah, that's the end. It's the end of the film.
The
I
shortest
mean,
episode ever.
not super. Not thinking these people were super concerned about spoiling Monster Seafood Wars.
Well, they
Oh,
should have been.
yeah, they should have. This is episode 241 of I Hope You Suffer. My name is Giant Crab.
Um. Oh shit!
Um,
I wrote down all their names. I think it was
yeah, I don't know, Robo Chef or whatever.
Jumbo Chef.
Yeah, Jumbo Chef.
I like to think
You're
that
the squid.
I'm definitely the squid. Did you see her eyelashes? So cute.
Yeah, she's the only one that when like the one character's just like, they have beautiful eyes. I was like, yeah, maybe just the squid.
Big, beautiful eyes.
Squid's got like a fucking universe in its eyes, and the rest of them are just like black as like night and just look dead
black
inside.
as night. Yeah, for sure.
First thing on the docket, can we talk about how this octopus has a pussy on its forehead?
Right? Every time it popped up, I was like, that is a large vagina on that octopus.
I was like, if something
I can't
doesn't,
say
on that
that
squid.
I noticed that.
I was like, if something doesn't happen with this weird pussy on this octopus's forehead, I'd be very upset. And then it didn't.
I think it was like most of the way through the film it popped up, and I was like, has it had a vagina on its head this whole time?
I noticed it like immediately, and I was like, well, that's a fucking strange design for this, but yeah, so we're gonna talk about 2020's Monster Seafood Wars. the only good movie to be released in 2020, as far as I
I gotta
remember.
say, I was really surprised. I didn't look up what year it was until after I finished it, and I was like very surprised that it was 2020 because it seemed earlier.
I just want to point out that the director's filmography looks incredible because it has a movie called The Crab Goalkeeper.
Yeah, I was
What?
gonna read you guys like some of his. So he's like like most. I think all of his movies are like parody movies, and also,
Like Goofy and
it's not necessarily like this is like a like a kaiju type movie where they're like monsters, but then there's like how we've talked about like like Power Rangers, Ultraman, all that stuff. And so he's like specifically really into parodies of that kind of thing, and also for some reason sea creatures. So he has and wrestling. So he also
The
has a
Calamari
movie
Wrestler.
called The Calamari Wrestler, which obviously is a squid wrestler. Crab Goalkeeper. You said
Can we talk about how the poster for Calamari Wrestler just shows the squid headbutting some dude in the wrestling
perfect.
ring?
The
Incredible.
Kabuto Obito. My favorite is a movie
Executive
called
Koala.
Executive Koala.
Incredible. I want to see The World Sinks except Japan.
The
Or-
Rug Cop.
Cat Ramen Taisho?
Knuckle Ramen Taisho. Yeah.
Uh,
They
where's the other one? There's like a very incredible title to one I just saw. I gotta find it again. Female prisoner Kaori, jailbreak from prison punishment cell.
there you go. Perfect. I think it really gives the essence of the of what he's got going on here. I was like I was unaware of this movie, first of all. It is a Japanese movie, of course. I was really interested to find out that this movie was like based off of an idea that they had for like a legit Godzilla movie that they just didn't do. And I was like, what part of it? Just giant crab monster or like what?
I bet like the idea of them like trying to grow like huge animals or whatever to feed people is probably like an idea I could see creating like a Godzilla movie where maybe they accidentally create like this giant monster Godzilla has to fight.
Yeah.
I need to see Naked Female President in Manyuki, which is a sequel to Naked Academy.
So I'm
Of
looking
course.
at screenshots from Executive Koala, which is also called Koala Kacho. And it's just like people like it's kind of like furries. I'm gonna send you guys a picture of him.
We absolutely gotta find and cover the Donkey Man, an old man who has been given supernatural powers by a donkey alien, plays an active role as a justice hero, Roboman. I gotta see
Perfect.
what this donkey alien looks like.
Oh my
What-
gosh, there's a picture of the koala using a flip phone.
What a fucking incredible filmography. This dude is living the best life.
Yeah, seriously.
I gotta find all of these. I need to see the Crab Goalkeeper. Let's see this
Yeah.
crab play soccer. Anyway.
Um
I had a very fun time watching this movie. Despite it being pretty clear to me that none of the at least some of the subtitles were probably not correct. Because it feels like a lot of the people were talking way longer than the subtitles showed.
I
Who's this bunny?
it's
This bunny is an
that's-
assistant?
that's his coworker.
What
That
a
is,
wonderful world
Co-executive.
to live in.
co-executor Usagi. I think it seemed pretty accurate. I think this might be, well, no, that's not true. I was gonna say like this might be we haven't done a lot of like specifically Japanese movies where they weren't supposed to be like a real movie. Like this is very obviously a parody.
Yeah, of like just kaiju movies sort of in general.
Yeah, right. And like I feel like whatever the fuck that sushi movie, but there's a difference between like a like a funny parody movie and like a quote unquote funny horror movie, right? Like that sushi movie that we did was obviously like a comedy horror movie because like there was like graphic stuff in it too, right? Sushi's
Yeah,
ate
kissing with
people
eggs.
to the bone or whatever. And so I think like this might be the first like just like straight up parody. Like the only reason this isn't like a horror movie at all. It's just like
No, this is essentially
monster
a comedy.
right. So it's kind of like maybe the first, like I don't really watch a lot of parody kind of stuff, and so like watching this you could very much tell that it was a parody. And I don't know if like the acting it's hard to know like without seeing this director's other movies if like because like the acting to me wasn't super great, and I don't know if it was like on purpose. Like obviously there was some parts of it where you could tell people were like going a little bit overboard. Like whatever was going on with the prime minister, I'm sure that was like satire of something that I am ignorant to, but like that guy was crazy. And so like the acting was like kind of whatever. And I feel like my only like this movie was fun, but I feel like I definitely wanted more monsters. Like there wasn't.
I think the thing for me that took me out of it a bit was the talking heads aspect to it.
Too much interview.
Like, which a part of it I was like, okay, this kind of reminds me a bit of like a World War Z, like the actual book World War Z, where it's just each chapter is like somebody recounting their experience during like the zombie war or whatever. And like at first I was like, okay, like I get it. They're setting up backstory with these talking heads, but then it's just like constant throughout the movie and it kind of takes you out of the story a bit.
Yeah.
But
I think there's like I like the aspect of some of it, but where it doesn't work for me is where the interviews and whatnot are done in a way that makes it feel like this already happened in the past, but then the movie part of it is in the present. And so that to me, I didn't, because like they start out by being like, well, we had no idea what was going to happen when this thing started, and then the movie plays, but then it's like interspersed with the interviews. And like part of the interviews I just think number one, there was too many people. And like some of them I get were a joke. Like one of them was like the head of the vinegar company or whatever. And like obviously that was supposed to be funny, right? Whatever. I just think there was too much, and I didn't like that it was like normal movie and then also interviews of what happened after the fact or something, if that makes sense.
yeah, sure. Like I overall, I would say I enjoyed this. I think I gave it like 3 stars because it's just like it was a very like fun, like goofy watch. Like based on the cover, I didn't expect it to be like scary or like an actual horror movie, but like I also wasn't expecting it to be like essentially a straight up comedy. I expected it to just be like a, just like a goofy kaiju movie. When Jumbo Chef showed up, I lost my fucking mind. I did not expect it, and he rocks. Kit, what'd you think?
I was so bored.
I
was so goddamn bored for all of it until the last like 15 minutes.
Like the opening rules because you get like the squid and the octopus fighting, and like they're just essentially Orange Cassidy fighting.
Yeah.
The entire time I was like, I think they just got Orange Cassidy to do these.
They really are. They just like long shot of them like kicking dirt at each other, kind of.
I really like the plot for it. Like it's a good idea for a movie. Like, oh well, what if giant monsters attack? But whenever we start killing them, it turns out that they're really tasty, and it's like we get sidetracked because we're eating the monsters.
We get sidetracked.
Like that's a good idea, but it being like kind of a weird mockumentary thing, I don't know. Maybe it's on me because I was expecting like a silly Power Rangers movie for an hour and a half.
I had some of that too, but I feel like there would be points where I would be like, okay, I'm getting real bored, where like something would happen. But there were definitely some stretches for like 10 or 15 minutes. I was like, all right, come on, like anything. But there were things where, like, in the middle where I was getting bored, where all of a sudden it starts going into, like, all of the, like, Japanese TV shows about eating monster meat. Where I was like, this is kind of funny. Okay, this pulled me back in, but...
Yeah.
Or I guess maybe more than anything, I feel like if I could have had this in English, where I didn't have to pay as much attention to the dialogue, I think it would have been maybe a less boring watch, but, like, having to pay attention to all of this dialogue from, like Katie said, like, the head of the vinegar company and shit like that, of, like, people that didn't really play any part into it. I was like, all right, come on, show me a monster, like, barely slapping another monster.
For, like, a monster movie, there's, like, entirely too much talking.
I mean, I feel like that's pretty common, though, amongst, like, most Godzilla movies. Where,
yeah.
Like, especially a lot of the ones that people are like, this is the bad Godzilla movies, where it's just, like, too much focus on, like, the human aspect of these monster movies. Where I just want, like, make your kaiju movie 60 minutes, and it's just monsters beating the shit out of each other, destroying cities. And then a giant robot chef shows up and cuts them up. That's all I want. Yeah. I have a feeling Executive Koala is probably like that.
Almost certainly.
All right. Do you want to jump into it, Katie?
Yeah. All right. So, as I said, this movie starts as if this happened already, because it says we immediately. I think this guy ends up being a main character, but I just called him Cop because I don't really know. He was just, like, the head of, like, this task force that they made up, right?
Smat.
Of SMAT, yes. SMAT. And he starts
SMAT team.
It starts by, like, literally showing us an interview, and he's saying that it's been 3 years since this mysterious disaster, right? And they're, like, interviewing people about this disaster. So the movie starts saying 3 years ago this thing happened, and so all of the interviews are the present, and then the movie itself is past, is like flashbacks, which I just, like, didn't really care for that. But anyways, so basically we are introduced to our main character, whose name is Yuta, and he is the son of a sushi bar owner. And it's, like, just a thing that he does every year where he brings an offering to this local shrine, and something happened. So that's what the guy tells us. And I'm like, okay. So now we actually see Yuta. He's biking. He's got a delivery on the back of his bike, and he is delivering an octopus, a squid, and a crab. He's bringing it to the shrine as an offering. And he stops to talk to one of his neighbors. They're just chit-chatting or whatever. And then when he goes to leave, he gets knocked over. And when he gets done doing, like, being like, ow, I'm hurt or whatever, he checks the buckets that had the offering in it, and the creatures are gone. So then we see, for some reason, an aquarium scene of an octopus, a squid, and a crab. And then the octopus, like, gets evil looking.
It happens.
Like, I don't know.
That's what octopuses look like.
So then it's, like, the title and the credits over, like, the monsters, basically over scenes from the movie that we're about to watch, which also seemed unnecessary. But so now there's these two guys that are just, like, walking. They're drunk, and the one guy is complaining about work, which, seems fair. But then all of a sudden the octopus monster busts up, and it's just like, blah, and everyone's like, oh no, monster, and they're, like, running around and stuff. This is when the squid also pops up, and I said, her eyelashes, she's beautiful. She also has, like, weird eyeballs on her she's got, like, Pan's Labyrinth hands, right? If you know, you know that. But she's got, like, luscious eyelashes. And the squid, I didn't notice anything particular about the squid, but it's just like a squid. And so, like, I guess to describe what these look like, they are like suit that somebody's wearing, and you can tell that like it's a two-piece suit, so like the body is one and then the head is another, because when they like undulate, it's like weird, you know?
Yeah.
It's like you can tell. They look pretty good though. Like, I don't know what the budget was for this, but they look good. And I guess maybe that's why I wish there was more of them, because it wasn't like dumb CGI monsters that looked really bad, right? They were just like normal, like akin to like a Power Rangers type suit, you know? So
yeah, like I think they looked totally fine for what this movie was. Like, obviously if this would have been like a serious kaiju movie, I would have been like, these look goofy as fuck. But for this, like, you know, comedy sort of like spoof version of a kaiju movie, they totally work.
Yeah, for sure. Because they do like have a air of ridiculousness to them. Like, they're not menacing or scary looking in any way.
They very much fit in like the goofy like 60s, 70s Godzilla spin-off and rip-off movies. I could
absolutely see this giant crab being like a monster Godzilla has to like rip apart and then eat.
Like Space Amoeba kind of shit.
Yeah. Apparently, the North American cover is actually a reference to Space Amoeba.
Hell yeah. They know. Yeah. They know what they're doing.
They know. So, eyelashes. Yuta also sees them, and they're just like standing there slapping each other and wrestling around for a while, kicking rocks at each other. Then there's another news report of they also, maybe I just didn't notice, I don't feel like the octopus or the squid made any noises.
I don't think
the crab did. He made like a, which is like the thing that
if they did,
Krabby in Pokemon does. Yeah, they weren't like, you know, they weren't doing anything. There's no cool sound effects for me to make, I guess.
Devastating.
I know. So now there's a news report about a guy saying that they basically like tried to attack the monsters using like conventional like weapons and missiles and stuff like that, but because they're mollusks, it's just not working, and so they had to figure out something else. Then we get an interview from Yuta's dad, who says that he recognized that the octopus and the squid were like his specimens, because he picks them all out by hand and they all have different faces. But to humans, they all look the same. But to fish, probably all humans look the same too, which is fair.
I feel like animals are smarter than us, and like could probably recognize differences instead of the idea that humans will be like, oh, everybody of this race looks the same kind of bullshit.
Yeah. So then the cop says that somebody at an so the reason this is confusing to me is because I feel like they give you the details backwards, and I don't know if that was like on purpose, but they're like, this cop is basically just like, oh yeah, somebody from the institute came forward and said that Yuta, oh, imagine our surprise, Yuta developed a drug that made the sea creatures big, and everything was his fault. And I was like, what? He also looks like a child to me. Like, he looks like he is a teenager. Young. Maybe that's the joke, though, because it's like all of these people are super young, but one of them is like head of the defense ministry. He was like working at this like crazy biochemical thing, and then like Yuta's friend was like the head of some like big financial bank, and they all look like they're like 20 years old. I don't know. So this is where Yuta goes to see his friend, who I wrote video game friend because I couldn't really gather if anybody said his name ever. But he is playing Street Fighter versus Tekken blindfolded, because he's trying to hone and use his fifth personality. Which I think that they're trying to say it was like his like inner eye situation. Like he was trying to like channel whatever. It's very strange. But his friend is immediately like, you're the one that's responsible for these monsters, right? like an all-out monster battle has always been your dream. And he's just like,
no. You must have done it.
Yeah, he's like, no, it wasn't me. They start talking about this drug called CTAP-Z, which Yuta was like helping to develop or whatever. And his friend is basically just like, everything that's like happening, all the damage that's being caused, like you're gonna go to jail because of it. And he's just like, it's not my fault. And he was like, well, it was your dad's seafood and it's your drug or whatever. And so like you're the one that's responsible. And so he basically is like trying to convince his friend that like somebody stole the octopus and the squid and stole the CTAP-Z, and so he's not responsible for any of it. So now there's like a scientist who says that the drug was developed in order to basically stop world hunger, because what the drug does is like make things bigger. So it's supposed to like literally make food bigger so that there's more food to go around. But then there's like this running joke that like essentially Yuta used like 7 million yen of the company's money on the project. And he just like likes to spend money, I guess. And so they fired him because of it. And Yuta is basically just like, it wasn't me. Like I have a witness that saw the stuff was stolen, and I'm pretty sure like that I know who did this. Okay. Then they are creepily spying on a girl named Nana, who is their like childhood friend. But for some reason, like video game friend has like surveillance video of her, and they're like just like stalking her kind of, which is gross. And then his friend like talks
Checks
about
out
a rocket.
From a gamer.
Yeah. Sub gamers. That has stuck in my head. Like I think it all the time. I think about it all the time. Yeah, then his video game friend talks about a rocket for some reason. I have no idea. So then Yuta gets a call from the police, and we're back at a news report where the cop tells us about SMAT or SMAT or however you want to say it, and it stands for Seafood Monster Attack Team. So the government has put together this team to try and stop the giant monsters. So now Yuta goes to a meeting with the cop and Nana. Nana tells the cop that Yuta was obsessed with cryptids and monsters when he was little, and everybody thought he was weird and made fun of him because of it. And Yuta is essentially just like, girls don't get monsters. It's a guy thing. They're like huge and they have really cute eyes, and like you wouldn't understand. You know what I'm talking about, right? To the cop. And the cop, I think, admits that the monsters are cute. So, like, you just wouldn't get it. It's a guy thing. Then they're kind of, like, going back and forth about it. And Nana is just like, okay, well, like, they're destroying the whole city. And it's, like, damaging, like, millions of dollars worth of stuff. So, like, either way, like, stop. We need to stop them. So the cop basically asks if there's a way to, like, counter the effects of CTAP-Z. And then there's just, like, a news report from the scientist kind of like explaining how it works, which is just science makes stuff bigger, you know?
Yeah. Science does.
Yuta is
too much science in the world.
I mean, honestly.
Everything getting too big.
We could use less science if you ask me. Yuta says that like he doesn't know how it happened or how to counter it because he got fired before he even finished like the sequence or whatever, which means that somebody stole his research and like finished it themselves. So basically he says, I think I know who did it, and you need to talk to somebody named Hikoma. And apparently Nana knows him really well, and there's like a joke about that. Great.
Is that the other young dude that is like vying for her interest?
Yeah.
Right, I forgot like all of their names.
Yeah. So Nana and Yuta join SMAT. And then we're watching a news program. This is where and the other problem with the news programs for me too is that they kind of tried to go for like you're flipping through TV thing, I think, because it's like showing this one guy who's talking about how they named the monsters. So the monsters, the octopus's name is Takoya. and which Taco is octopus, and then Ikaya is the squid. But it's like flipping back and forth between him just holding up a sign that has their names, and then this like really bizarre prime minister section where the guy is wearing like a bunch of makeup and talking like kind of weird. And I don't, I'm sure that's a parody of something. I don't know.
Must say
Matt,
The Office.
Probably, definitely. Smat is consulting with Yuta about how to defeat the monsters. I actually thought this part was very funny because he's like standing there telling them like his plan, and there's like crayon drawings of the monsters behind him, like he drew the plan with crayons. And so his plan is that they should help the octopus defeat the squid because he's got a better chance of defeating him, right? Because he's got all them arms and stuff. And then after he defeats the squid, he'll want to take a rest. So what they should do is make a trap pot that the octopus will go into, and then they'll take the pot into the deep sea or something like that. And they're essentially just like
didn't they say they would have to like reconfigure essentially like a sewer or some shit to make the pot?
And it would be really, really expensive or whatever. And he's like, okay, I don't understand. Like, what's the problem? So then
we'll just dig up half the city to
like literally. So then Hikoma shows up, and he's essentially like, I have a plan that will cause 1,000 times more damage to the monsters and cost 1,000 times less money. And then when he goes to show his like plan, there's like really professional drawings in the background versus like Yuta's crayon drawings, which I thought was like a really funny detail. So his plan is basically rice vinegar.
It's everybody's
That's
plan.
the plan. Yeah. So
always works.
They're gonna
no matter
rice,
what.
Yeah. If you're in a scenario
literally.
that you just find yourself thinking rice vinegar, do it.
Yeah, try it.
So they're going to develop rice vinegar cannons that are going to spray vinegar at the monsters, but they have to get within like 500 feet or something. I don't remember. They basically have to get like really close, and so it's like dangerous. Then there is a like news report or interview from, like I said, the head of like the vinegar company or something. And they're basically just talking about the reason that it will work is because the vinegar will break down the fatty tissue in the monsters and also extract salt from them, which is bad because they need salt to be powerful or something. Sure.
Yeah.
So, extract salt from their bodies. Okay. So, then Hikoma and Nana go on a date to a restaurant, and she's like, delicious. And they have just like the stupidest conversation that like I've ever heard in my life.
Yeah,
they're
seem
just
like they'd be a real boring couple to be around.
They just like basically she's like saying stuff, and then he's responding with like pickup lines, and she's like not really like susceptible to them, so she's like countering the pickup lines, and then he just does it again, and it's like so annoying and stupid. Anyways,
she might be from some sort of like Japanese girl group.
I don't know, and I thought that I recognized her, but to be honest, I did not look it up.
The only other movie she has like a credit for, it looks like some sort of like live concert movie.
It is his podcast.
Yeah, I know.
Take that back. Yeah, anyways, it's not great. It's stupid. Anyways, they get in a call about a new monster attack. And so like I guess like what is happening here is that the monsters pop out and like attack each other, and then they just like jump back in the ocean or are like quiet for a little bit, and then they pop out again. Yeah, they're just chilling. So the monster, they pop out and they start fighting again. Smat appears with the vinegar cannons.
Smat.
It's just like a fun name to say. They nailed it with that name.
It really is, yeah. They crushed it.
I think
Call them the SMAT team.
The prime minister was like, you can also call it the special monster attack team, and I was like, okay. There must have been some kind of pun there that, like, I don't know.
SWAT.
No, never mind.
Oh, from the minister.
Yeah.
Oh.
Way to fuck it up, kid.
Ruined it. I'm just gonna go eat my. I'm gonna go
kid.
eat my squid monster.
I don't need your knowledge based in reality here, okay?
It's a SWAT-free zone.
Unless we're talking about SWAT cats, I don't want to hear it come out of your mouth.
That's fair.
So then they play this like music that is like very horn heavy music, but it's like, you know, like pretty typical of what you would see on like a kind of monster or like Fighting Man type of thing. You know, Fighting Man. So the SMAT team has to get close to the monsters, right? And so he's like driving up to them, and as they do that, Takuya is like trying to grab. Also, he's an octopus, but like he's got pincers for some reason. I don't like know why, but he's like trying to grab the Jeep. So there's just the scene of the Jeep like driving around in circles or whatever to like try and grab them. But they end up shooting them with vinegar. And also, whenever they shoot them with vinegar, like nothing really happens. They just kind of like stand there, and I'm just taking their word for the fact that it's working, because like visually we don't really see anything happening. But this is when the crab pops up, and they're all like, "Oh my god, a crab!" And the crab, all three of them are starting to fight. Yeah. I think that the like Japanese name of this movie was like 3 Meat Gourmet or something like that. So like, yeah, we've got the 3 meats here fighting. And the crab ends up, whose name is
Steve.
Kinda, yeah.
Yeah.
Steve. Steve
the one like non-Japanese name in the movie is the crab's just Steve.
Steve. So they're all like fighting. The crab eventually ends up chopping off some tentacles from both the squid and the octopus, and they show, and there's like a lump of like crab meat or something, I guess, on the ground, and it shows like the cop guy, and he's just like intensely licking his lips, which I thought was pretty funny. So they shoot vinegar. They're shooting vinegar at the crab, but it doesn't really do anything because he's got like a protective shell or whatever. So they decide to abort the mission. The Jeeps try to drive away, but the crab literally like knocks them over, and it like cuts to the scene of like a toy, like a very obviously remote control Jeep like flipping over and then exploding, and it was very funny.
I like how bad this scene looks of them, like where it's supposed to look like they're getting hit by like the claw, and it's just like there's blatantly no giant claw in the scene. It's just like them jumping out of the truck like they got hit.
Yeah. Then there is basically my other problem too is like you have the scenes of like this stuff where it's like really, really funny interspersed with like the people just arguing with each other. And I'm like, okay. So we get a scene of Yuta and Hikuma like arguing about like, your plan was stupid, whatever. Who cares? And they like are refusing to try and like work together to figure it out. So this is when they decide that they're going to, because they've got tentacles laying around as you do. And they decide that they're going to sample the monster meat. Why not? So they decide that only the people on the monster team are going to try the meat. So then they go through this thing where they have the chef preparing these like different dishes, and they like show us the dishes, and it's pretty cute. Like the dishes are all very cute looking, and they tell us like the names of them or whatever. And so the team like tries the food, and it goes through internal dialogue for all of them eating the food. And they're like obsessed with this food. One of them says they're trying a dish with the octopus, And oh, I'm sorry, it's the squid. But he said, "I will be satisfied if I'm drowned to death in butter with ikaya and potatoes." And it's just like the people are literally just like obsessed with this like monster meat, right?
I think it's like the sort of like main guy that looks like a teenager is eating the one, and he's just like, "Wow, even boiled, this is good."
Yeah, or he was like, "Even with tomatoes, it's good." Then this other guy says, "Takoya and soybeans are dancing in my mouth." It's just like the most over the top shit. It was pretty funny. So yeah, so they do this. Then Yuta and Nana have like a heart to heart. They like go out on the roof, and she's like, "Oh my God, I'm so happy. This food is delicious, and I can't believe I get to live in a world where I can eat monster meat all the time." And she's just like talking about how great the monster meat is, which like, same. I feel that way about food sometimes. But he's basically just like, they're like having she was like, "Oh, like, I'm sorry, like, you just want the monsters to fight or whatever." And then Yuta's basically like talking about how, and then they show a slideshow of like, like whenever they show like starving children in whatever, there's like a slideshow of like starving people. And he's basically talking about like actually what he was trying to do. Like, he loves monsters, but he was trying to like solve world hunger. And he gets mad at her because like she just wants to eat food and like she's gonna get fat or something, and then she like storms off. And I was like, what the fuck is going on here?
I feel like you could just say that for just about anything that's happening in this movie.
Yeah, basically.
Well, I mean, fair. So now we're getting interviewed. This is like the section of that Nathan was talking about, where it's just like a bunch of different interviews and TV programs. That's basically just like, and like I did really like this part, except I felt like it went on a little too long.
Yeah, it
but
went
basically
on like two sections too long. I think like 3 would have been fine instead of like 5 or 6.
Right, because they're talking about how basically that about like the common people are able to start eating the monster meat, and it's kind of just like explaining how it's become a part of their culture, where like there's monster meat restaurants popping up, there's like a YouTube channel, and it's like become like they show like the stereotypical like Japanese street girls who have made up specific words to use for eating the certain monsters. And just like stuff like that. And then there's like this one of this guy who was like a legit like food critic, so it was like pretty much like watching like a like a food show that we would watch, but for monster meat, which I thought was clever. I just feel like they could have done it maybe in a slightly different way that made it, because it was kind of like we just said, it was kind of long. But anyway, meanwhile, Nana runs into Yuta's video game friend, and they have like a short exchange kind of for no reason, because then he's just like, "Can't you tell how he feels about you?" And I was like, what are you talking about? Because like Yuta has not expressed any concern or care for Nana this whole time. Aside from in the beginning where they're like, we're childhood best friends or whatever, he doesn't seem to be interested in talking to her even. So this was all a little confusing to me, but maybe that's the point, right? I don't know. So Nana is on a date with Hikuma again, and Yuta shows up, and basically he's like shaming them for eating monster meat when they should be like, they're like on the task force to defeat the monsters, so they shouldn't be sitting here like enjoying eating them or whatever.
Disagree.
Right?
It's a good bonding experience.
She also has a good point, because she's like, we have to eat and drink, right? Like, we can't just be all the time fighting, so we should just like eat food and enjoy eating food or whatever. And I'm like, I mean, fair. And then Yuta confronts Hikuma about being the one that like stole, the seafood guys, and like stole the whatever, and like caused everything. And Nana is like starting to believe him a little bit. She's like, what, really? Did you do that? And he doesn't like say that he didn't at this point. So they basically start fighting, and they're arguing about like who's going to defeat the monsters first. And then they decide that whoever, like, they're basically just like, I'm a serious scientist, I'm more serious than you. And so they decide that whoever wins and is able to defeat the monsters can date Nana, which is gross. And she's also like, what? Excuse me. So Yuta like storms out of the restaurant and Nana catches up, or maybe it's the other way around, I don't remember. But basically, she's like, you like, I don't know why did you say that he couldn't like date me or whatever? Like, it's my love life and like it's not any of your business. And he's essentially, this is like the moment where it's supposed to be like the stereotypical like confession, I guess, because he's just like, she's like, it's none of your business, stay out of my life. And he's like, I can't because
You're my childhood friend.
Yeah, and then he goes, I don't need you to understand, and then he just like runs away, and she's like, what the fuck just happened?
Just a dude being a dude.
Like literally. Then Yuta suggests then like the next scene it just like hard cuts and they're back at like the SMAT station thing. And Yuta is just like, okay, so my next suggestion to try and defeat the monsters is seafood Super Bowl or something.
Oh, yeah. Super Bowl I want to see.
I mean, pretty much. And they like argue about the vinegar cannons again. Then they're like, okay, we're going to do this. We're going to defeat them. And then they just do like task force stuff, you know, like typing on computers and like whatnot.
Real task force stuff, typing on computers.
Yeah. This next scene, again, I feel like is extremely stereotypical anime situation where, well, not this part, but what follows. They're basically, Yuta's like typing on the computer and he's like, oh man, finally I did it. I like finished the simulation of how to get the monsters into the Super Bowl arena, which we don't ever see any of that. So I'm not sure like what's going on there. But basically she's like, ew, you smell, you should go take a shower. And he's like, okay, so he leaves. Then she's sitting there and she like sneezes and she's like, oh, I have allergies to house dust. And so Hikuma's like, oh, don't worry, I'll clean this vent for you. So he like climbs up on a ladder and she's like holding the ladder. But then he falls over on her and Yuta walks in and is like, hey, get off her. What are you guys doing? And then Nana's just like, oh, it's just a misunderstanding, like, and explains what happens. But like Yuta's already like punched him out and stuff. And then he like runs away and he's like, oh man, guess I messed up, huh? And Hikuma's like, you will pay for this, idiot, and like runs away. You know, typical enemy stuff. Then the alert goes off for the monsters attacking. And then the monsters are just immediately in the stadium. So like I don't know. It's just skipped that whole part, I guess. And they vinegar cannon them and they are bombing the crab to try and like break his shell or whatever, but it's like not really working. Suddenly the crab can shoot fireballs and he starts shooting fireballs and he sets somebody on fire, which was kind of cool. Then they're like, oh no, it's not really working. Like, what are we going to do? And then the sprinkler system turns on and the sprinklers are basically like shooting water on them and washing the vinegar off. And they're like, oh my gosh, like the sprinklers are not supposed to be going off. And then they're like, oh, it's a hacker. Someone hacked into the sprinklers and are making them go off. Obviously, it's Hikuma, right? And they like confront him and he's like, haha, not only is it water, it's seawater and it's giving them more powers. Which again, visually, we don't know any of that's happening. Like, they don't get bigger, they don't glow, they don't get like GAD powers, they just like tell it to us, right? Then video game friend shows up and he's like, I have this controller. It is the Jumbo Cook controller. And everyone's like, what? Jumbo Cook? And Jumbo Cook is essentially a mascot that is on a like kitchen supply building or whatever, but the building opens up and he is a robot that is a chef. And he's
Jumbo Cook.
And probably my favorite part of this movie is that like when he's being revealed, there's just this white guy that's like, what? Jumbo Cook.
Yeah.
Flying Jumbo Cook. And this other guy's like, yeah! And it's ridiculous.
The white dude in the USA shirt.
Yes. Couldn't be more white either. Like blonde hair, blue eyes. Like, what? Excellent. It's
Perfect.
Very funny. Yeah. So, meanwhile, Nana and Yuta are like confronting Hikuma, and he finally admits to everything and says that he did it because he is jealous of Yuta, and that's why he is trying to help the monsters win. Very normal. Then Jumbo Cook arrives. There's a lot of different layers of superimposing going on here because like all of the monsters and Jumbo Cook are very obviously like filmed separately and then like laid over. I mean, it wasn't like the worst looking like CG I've seen, but it definitely was like you could tell. You know what I mean? I wrote JC and I was really confused for a minute. JC, you know, our Lord Jumbo Cook.
That'd be incredible. Jesus Christ comes down and helps Jumbo Cook.
Jumbo Cook fights the monsters and is like, you know, winning. He's like really powerful. He's like giving them a karate chop here and there and like wacha and like cutting off their arms and shit. But somehow Hikuma like uses his very rapid tapping on an iPad to hack Jumbo Cook's controller, and so the controller stops working. Yeah, and then the crab ends up cutting off one of Jumbo Cook's arms, and then we're like, oh my god, oh no, but it's fine because a sword arm comes out of where his hand used to be. So then he's like, yeah, sword arm, and they like make a whole show of it. And then he's like fighting, but then an alarm starts going off on Jumbo Cook's chest because he is running out of energy. And so, Video Game Friend is basically just like, okay, now it's time to get serious, and asks for his blindfold. And the other guys are like, oh my god, why is he like needing this blindfold? And then Yuta's like, it's so his fifth personality can come out. And I was still like, I don't know if that's translated correctly, but yeah, so his fifth personality is gonna come out. And so you know, it all ties back to the Street Fighter versus Tekken. So Jumbo Cook flies up in the air and like through the solar system essentially, and does like a meteor shower / thing where he like goes up into space and then like flies down really fast and like cuts off all the tentacles and arms of all of the monsters.
Pretty hard.
Yeah, it was pretty great. And that's all it took, because then there's just a shot of Jumbo Cook silhouetted against a very, very bright sunset with like gleam, you know, like solar lens flares and whatnot. And then it cuts to a picture of the National Stadium as a seafood bowl, which is like literally like a bowl of seafood. There's just like prepared monster meat dish.
Which doesn't make sense to me because like there's way more meat in that stadium than would be possible with those three monsters.
It's so much broth. There's poured a shitload of broth in there.
This is just all noodles.
Noodles all the way down. So then the cop is being interviewed again, and it's just like, yeah, basically that's what happened. And then they're like, okay, well, like talking to him about like the C-Tab-Z situation, like what's going on with that. And he was essentially just like also very calmly talking about how a bunch of mosquitoes ingested the like virus, so now that they're giant and they're just like mummifying people by sucking all the liquid out of them. Terrifying. And then he's just like, yeah, I don't know, we just need to work some more stuff out before we can start using C-Tab-Z the way that it's supposed to be used, which is, you know, obviously giving it to like farm animals and stuff. So then it cuts to now, I guess, and Yuta, Nana, and the Video Game Friend are walking together in the street, palling around, and they are taking the new offering to the shrine. And The offering this year is a lobster, an uni, which is a sea urchin, and a globefish, which I'm not familiar with. But basically, they get there, and there's a guy wearing like a not a handkerchief, what's like a bandana over his head, and he's just like, "Oh, hello there. The priest is sick today, so you can give the offering to me." Seems very sus, but they're just like, "Okay, here you go." And then the guy like takes the offering inside, and we see the priest who is tied up on the ground, and very, very big shocker, it's actually Hickama who took the offering, and then he just laughs maniacally at the camera.
The end.
And that's the end. Surprisingly, not a lot to this giant seafood monster movie.
Yeah, it's a lot of dialogue and needed more monster fights, but you know.
And I also like skipped over a lot of the arguing and like the TV reports or whatever. The movie was like only 84 minutes, but yeah, not a lot of monster fighting.
Hear me out.
Okay.
The monsters do all the talking.
I'm in.
I wish.
They're interviewing the monsters about it.
They should have. Tell us what
like,
happened.
Yeah, and that's when I turned into a giant seafood bowl.
I didn't care for it, to be honest with you.
All right. Katie, did you look up news at all?
No. I mean, most of it is stuff that you were talking about earlier, so you can tell us about that if you want.
I don't care about the DC news.
What?
Apparently Attack the Block 2 is coming and is aiming for an Aliens Terminator 2 feel.
Fuck yeah. I'm in.
Yeah.
If you're going to give us sequels to stuff, make us wait 10, 15 years.
Yeah, for real.
It's the way to do it.
Apparently there's a new Stephen King movie coming out. I don't care about that. Sure.
Oh, yeah.
What?
The Boogeyman?
Yeah, short story.
Yeah.
More importantly, sequel to Nathan's favorite film of the year, Winnie the Pooh.
Oh yeah, of course.
Sequel?
Yeah, there's already a sequel to that. There's already a sequel to Megan coming out. Like,
Winnie the Pooh hasn't even come out yet, though, has it?
It does. It was a foregone conclusion that they were gonna fucking sequelize that like immediately.
Mm-hmm.
I wouldn't be surprised.
I'm sure they're turning a huge profit off of it.
Oh, because every fucking person's like it's gonna be terrible, and yet every single person like I follow for the podcast is like stoked about it. And I'm like, this movie's gonna be garbage. What's wrong with you?
That's how everything is. I mean, they're making a new Ghostbusters. That's been the case with Ghostbuster movies
At
for. At
least Ghostbusters is like an established franchise. This like Winnie the Pooh horror.
So is
movie.
Winnie the Pooh.
Yeah,
Nathan.
but this isn't like. I don't know why anyone thinks this movie's gonna be good. It drives me crazy.
Kit got really defensive about Winnie the Pooh.
Defend Christopher Robin with my life.
Fuck that old man turning his back on his toys.
Oh my god. It's the Velveteen Rabbit all over again.
Did you guys? Apparently, there was a Let the Right One In TV show that was already airing. I didn't know about.
No idea, and it's canceled.
Showtime
already,
canceled
apparently.
it and pulled all of the episodes from its streaming service that had already aired.
Yeah.
Oh, I didn't know they did that.
Yeah, they canceled it and
fucking horrible.
Removed all of the episodes. So like you can't even watch the episodes that have already aired. At least
not a big fan of where this whole
Pretty
streaming
great.
thing is going.
Yeah, it's not great. That's why I have a stupid amount of fucking DVDs and Blu-rays for when all of it's MIA.
Yep.
Everything's bad. All right. Katie, what'd you watch besides The Bye-Bye Man?
The movie was so stupid. First of all,
The Hello Fella.
The Hello Madam. I feel really bad because I don't know if like Mac had seen it already, but whoever was the director, who is Stacy Title, I guess was like when the movie was like being made was like really sick and like dying, and this was like the last movie that they released, and I was like, I feel so sad, but it was very bad. Don't watch it. It's very stupid. Also, like, why the Bye Bye Man? I just feel like on principle, that's not a good idea to name something that way. Anyway, I forgot, it's been like 2 weeks. Okay, so the first thing I watched after we recorded last time was I'm like, I don't know if this is a Netflix original or what, but it is called The Pale Blue Eye, and it is Christian Bale, and it was basically about like this detective who is like doing a mystery, and he encounters Edgar Allan Poe as like when he was at his like military camp or whatever, and like the movie itself was like totally fine. I kind of liked the twist. I'm really concerned about why people thought Edgar Allan Poe sounded like Foghorn Leghorn though, because like,
you tell me he doesn't.
No, absolutely
well, I
not.
say.
And also, like, the guy who's playing him is the guy I'm pretty sure who played, like, Neville Longbottom in Harry Potter. So he's, like, British. So, like, sometimes his accent is, like, super thick. Like, I'll tell you, like, very thick. Like, what I would stereotypically use as, like, a Southern accent. But then also sometimes sort of British. And it was just, like, a fucking disaster. I feel like he looked the part. But his voice, I literally just could not get over his accent. It was very questionable. But I like Christian Bale, so it was fun. Then we watched Jurassic World Domination. No, wait, Dominion?
Yeah.
Whatever
Domination. Domination's the BDSM spinoff.
Right.
All the raptors in their bondage gear.
That might be cute.
That would be way better than whatever the fuck bad. That series is now.
It is really bad. I will say it wasn't as bad as the second one in the trilogy, but it was pretty bad. I think, like, this was the one where they brought back Laura Dern, Jeff Goldblum, Sam Neill, like BD Wong. And I will say that I did actually like enjoy their part in the movie. Like, it didn't feel gimmicky to me, which I thought it would be. But overall, it's very bad. I don't think it should exist. But they finally got me to watch it. I watched it.
I'm gonna cave and hate watch it at some point. I know.
I did.
But I'm proud of myself for holding out this long.
Yeah, we really just wanted to watch something stupid, and that's what happened. So it's over with. I'll never think about it again. Then I watched The Menu finally, which I will say I've never seen a movie quite like it, and it took me like a good week to figure out if I liked it or not. And if you've seen it, you understand what I'm saying. I think I've settled on I did like it. It was very weird.
I really liked it.
And over the top.
Yes.
So I'm gonna say I liked it. Then I watched a series starring David Tennant and Stanley Tucci called The Inside Man.
Watching too many of the Blink Man stuff.
Listen, I know they're getting me with the mans. My mans. It was frustrating. It's like one of those shows where like everybody is making the absolute wrong decision time after time. And so it's like, it's really weird because Stanley Tucci is like a convicted killer. And so he's in jail, and there's like half of the show is centered around him, and he's amazing in it, of course, Stanley Tucci. Then David Tennant is like having separate issues, but in England. And then the way that they like tied it all together, I thought wasn't super strong. It's like, it's fine. It was only like 4 episodes though. So I guess if you just want to watch something, like whatever, it was fine. Then we watched the Uncharted movie. Very silly and not in a good way. It was not fun or entertaining at all, which pains me to say because I really like Tom Holland. I don't really care for Mark Wahlberg, to be honest with you.
Does anybody?
I think so. People like the burgers, right? Doesn't he have a burger? Doesn't his family have like a burger
Yeah,
situation?
but I feel like he is way hands off that situation.
Well, and so the problem too is that like so Tom Holland is supposed to be Nathan Drake, which I don't know, it's a video game, right? And Mark Wahlberg is supposed to be playing like a boomer type guy in it, but like they are like making fun of him because like he's got apps open on his phone and he's just like haha, and they're like, yeah, boomer, and I was like, okay, what? It was just really weird. Anyways, it wasn't very fun, I would say. Then I watched The Bye Bye Man. Again, not good. Then I watched this movie last night with Shawn Ashmore, as you know, the good Ashmore, and the girl who played Alice from Twilight, which I feel like I need to not watch any movies with her in it because she doesn't have a good track record for me. But it was called Aftermath, and it was bafflingly stupid. But that's what I was talking about earlier, where there were some things in it that really creeped me out because I'm just gonna spoil it right now, so just don't watch it because it was really stupid. But it turns out it was like one of those movies where they made you think that maybe there was like a haunting happening, but it was really just like some really, really tall, skinny, pale guy living in the walls or whatever for like a really stupid reason. And I feel like somebody secretly living in your house is like one of the scariest things that could ever happen. And this guy is like 8 feet tall. He's just like a normal guy, right? And there's like a scene where she's like recording her sleeping because like weird stuff is happening, right? And there's like a scene where you just see him stick his feet out from under the bed, and it is so gross and icky. And it creeps me out, but overall the movie was so fucking stupid. So just don't watch it. But that's what happened.
Unless you like feet.
Well, he's got some feet on him. And then I watched a series. And then I watched another series on Netflix called 1899, which is
R.I.P.
extremely weird. Essentially, which is really weird. Apparently it's by the people who made Dark, which I still haven't watched, but it's supposed to be actually really, really good. And it is just like one of those shows where watch it if you like to not understand anything that's happening ever.
That's me. I like to not understand things.
Same.
Yeah, so I don't know. I think I liked it. I think I liked it a lot. I'm still pondering. I finished it like day before yesterday, and I'm still like pondering the things that happened. But it was interesting. I feel like Netflix original stuff doesn't have a very good track record for me, but like I'm pretty sure this was one, and like pretty good for that.
Yeah, and then immediately got canceled.
Probably.
No, it did.
I mean,
it did.
I was gonna say the ending was like one of those things where like I could see them continuing it, but also it doesn't. The show is like so weird that like it doesn't really need to be continued or whatever. So I don't know.
I'm a big fan of Netflix coming out and stating that they've never canceled a successful show on their platform.
I feel like they've canceled everything.
Insane.
like
I don't know what, because they refuse to release any of like their metrics and like what, like, you know,
what constitutes a successful show.
You know, I get you. Sure, I guess according to them, but like I feel like there's so many shows that for like the week it comes out, that's all my fucking timeline is about, is those shows, and then they're like the next week it's like Netflix canceled this show, and I'm like, yeah, okay. I think you should leave. The only good show on Netflix. I'm standing by it.
True. Big facts.
Well, and I also saw. I mean, I know that they all say this and they've said it before, but they're supposed to be like cracking down on password sharing. I refuse to pay for Netflix. So if that happens, then oh well.
Yeah.
So I'm just like trying to go through and watch stuff that I was like I'm genuinely interested in on there before that happens, but we'll see.
All right, Kit, what'd you watch?
Let's see. I watched The Lair, which is horrible dog shit. I don't think I finished it. I think I made it like to the last 20 minutes and was like, I'm just gonna take a nap. You know, maybe I'll finish it, and I didn't.
Good for you.
Dude who did Dog Soldiers in the Descent. and that he's fooled me so many times now. All the goodwill he's bought from those 2 movies, son of a bitch.
The Descent fucked me up for a long time. I will admit that.
It's so good. It's such a good film, and then he decided he was never going to make another one ever again.
What is The Lair?
So it's almost exactly Dog Soldiers, except it is like American soldiers in I don't know if they state specifically, just like generic Middle East country where they were running experiments.
Oh, this poster looks like it would be bad, Kit.
There's one poster where it's like it looks like it could be fun bad, and then there's the poster on Letterboxd where it looks like it's a horrible.
It looks like a shitty like Netflix show poster.
Yeah, like an asylum thing.
Oh, he did the Hellboy remake. Yeah,
Yeah,
he's got he's like 2 good movies on his Letterboxd filmography.
I told you. He did 2, and then just decided like, I'm gonna call it a day.
Yeah, now just doing jobs that people
whatever the fuck The Lair is. But fuck me, there was one really funny line in it I tweeted about. I don't know, whatever. Terrible, bad film. Don't watch it. Don't let Shudder fool you. Then I went and saw Infinity Pool the other day. Fucking rips. Very good film. Brandon Cronenberg. I was gonna say he's the opposite of the Descent guy, except he hasn't made any bad movies. He just makes good movies. So Brandon Cronenberg, pretty good.
Patiently waiting for that to hit streaming somewhere because I want to see it, but I don't know if I'm gonna pay to go see it in the theater.
It sounds like with the home release, they're gonna be able to release the NC-17 version too. So
I'm in because I fucking love Brandon Cronenberg, but I'm very, very nervous because I do not like Mia Goth, and I don't want to watch another movie of just her baby voice yelling.
She's not in it a ton. She is a major part, but it's not like
I'm interested in her breastfeeding.
She's not overbearing.
Alexander Skarsgård, though.
Yes. And I'm looking forward to the NC-17 cut so we can see Alexander Skarsgård coming on camera, full frontal.
Oh, man. It's wild that like somehow Brandon Cronenberg is able to do shit like that, but they won't let fucking what's his name have swinging dicks in The Northman.
Yeah, I love Alexander Skarsgård. Just like, no, I'm just gonna do all kinds of weird shit. Like he's really shot up to being one of my favorite actors, just because he'll do whatever and he'll be naked during it.
Because he'll hang dong whenever the breeze strikes him.
Does not care. He'll hang dong. He'll get jerked off on film. Whatever. He's there for it. Then I watched Tar. Also really good.
I still want to see that too.
Oh man, she's.
It sounds like
real awful.
Real stressful.
First hour and 15 minutes or so, I was like, I mean, she doesn't seem like she's a terrible person, and then that's when kind of shit all starts hitting the fan. It's like, oh yeah, no, she's horrible. And just in Insane Descent that gets to one of the funniest endings I think I've ever seen in a movie, because it really fucking caught me off guard.
What is that streaming somewhere, or did you rent it?
Peacock.
Yeah. Boo cock.
Look, after Plex, I'm on board with almost anything.
Fair.
Yeah.
I assume it's not free though, is it?
I mean, you have to probably...
Peacock's like $5 a month for the
I will
ad
not
version.
Give them money.
Yeah, I subscribe to it, I think, or Caitlin does. So
there's they've got like 30 seasons of Below Deck. It's so worth $5.
No, leave me alone.
Yeah,
with
they got
that.
all the Real Housewives, I think, on there.
Yeah.
Ew.
Real Housewives of New Jersey.
All of every Halloween movie forever.
Oh god.
Streaming day of.
I saw.
Damn.
Yeah, you can watch Halloween Ends Again next year.
Yeah.
Great.
Halloween Re-Begins. I watched Murder Mystery, the Adam Sandler Netflix movie,
Okay.
which was surprisingly decent, actually. It was I don't know that I'd say Knives Out is like a smart film, but this is definitely like
the dumb version of that.
The dumb guys version of that.
I was talking,
and it's pretty fun.
Shane was talking about, I guess he watched that You People movie, the Jonah Hill thing or whatever.
Jonah Hill.
And he was like, it's dog shit. And I was like, yeah, like Jonah Hill had like that career where he made the mistake of being like, I'm like, you know, the funny guy, but now I'm like a serious actor and I'm just doing this stuff and writing my own movies, as opposed to the Adam Sandler model where you get offered these serious acting roles that help you fund doing your dumb, stupid, dumb guy bullshit with your friends.
Yeah.
Where Adam Sandler...
I love dumb, stupid, dumb guy bullshit.
Look, I mean, have you seen The Cobbler?
It's perfect.
No.
Adam Sandler has
Hubie Halloween,
literally
100%.
the perfect career where he can, like, you know, indulge his, like, I want to be taken serious, like Uncut Gems, Punch Drunk Love type roles, and then he could go over there and make whatever just ridiculous six bullshit he's doing on Netflix.
Yeah.
I don't
hang
think
out
I've
with
ever
his friends.
seen like one of his serious movies except for like Spanglish.
Oh, Punch Drunk Love is perfect.
And so is Uncut Gems.
I have yet to see Uncut Gems because I know it's going to make me extremely stressed, but like...
It's so stressful. Yeah. I told Layla I watched it like a few weeks ago and she's like, why would you submit yourself to that again? Because it's perfect. It's so good.
It's one I have to be in a very specific, just ready for like mindset to watch, so I'll get to it eventually.
And then I watched Antiviral, Brandon Cronenberg's first one.
Oh yeah.
Which is pretty good. It's definitely not as good as Possessor or Infinity Pool. And then I watched RRR this morning, finally. And that's fucking wonderful. What a delightful bromance.
I still need to sit around and watch that too, but isn't it like over 2 hours? Something like that?
It's over 3 hours.
Yeah, that's why I keep putting it off, where I'm just like, I don't...
Yeah. This morning I was like, no, I'm gonna do a long one this morning. Let's see. And it's like, RRR. I've been meaning to. I'm gonna do it. Let's go. And it's so worth it. If it goes by pretty quick.
I'm always like,
only gets kind of draggy, but
I'm like, I could watch this, or I could watch like 6 SOV movies on YouTube in that amount of time.
Right.
So. All right. I watched a shit ton of Nick Cave stuff, like live concerts and documentaries. And then I watched The Chase from 1994 with Charlie Sheen, Christy Swanson, Henry Rollins. Minus the 2 leads being the worst people on earth. Banger movie. Highly recommend. It used to play on like Comedy Central or some shit all the time in the 90s. I watched Johnny Mnemonic.
Hell yeah.
Which I had not seen since like 95. And it's
get that Cyber Dolphin
way better than I think I remember, or it was given like credit for in the 90s. I think that
100%.
I then had the perfect double feature of Showgirls and Possession.
That's incredible.
I was listening to like Sam Deegan from Twitch of the Death Nerve is currently like doing audio versions of all of like these essays that got lost from like, you know, websites that went under and shit like that. So she's like putting them all up on her Patreon and doing audio versions. So I listened to the Showgirls one, and then I think something got mentioned about Possession in there, and I was like, oh, I'm watching both of these. I watched Attack of the Beast Creatures. Fucking banger. It's so good.
I was so excited to see that they were putting that out as a partner label release, because I definitely watched that on Cinemax or something as a child.
Like,
and I cannot wait to watch it again.
In reality, does not deserve the 5 stars it got from me, but it's so fun and like ridiculous that it's a 5-star movie. It rocks.
Yeah.
I watched Blades. The Killer Lawnmower movie. I think you talked
Fuck
about
yeah.
last week, and it rocks. Just perfect Jaws spoof.
It's whenever they're at they're like on top of the bus or
Yeah.
whatever, and they're like holding the guy's arm up, and they have to like drop him down there, and it gets his legs and pulls him away.
And them it pulling him away baffles me.
Incredible.
And then I watched Vinegar Syndrome is doing like a new thing called, I think, Vinegar Syndrome Labs, where they're like testing out movies that aren't typically you wouldn't think of as like Vinegar Syndrome releases to like, I don't know, see how they like go by. And like the first two releases, Karuku, Beast of the Amazon, and Flesh and Fantasy. I watched both of those. Like the Beast of the Amazon one is like from 1956, Flesh and Fantasies from 1943, and like they were fine. Flesh and Fantasy was a little more interesting story wise because it's like a anthology about essentially just being like, hey, like don't wish for things because maybe those things are not good. It's very weird, but it's okay. And then Karuku, Beast of the Amazon has a insane looking bird creature in it, but everything else in it is not great, and it's like pretty sexist towards like the one woman throughout the entire movie because it's the 50s. And then the last thing I watched was Run and Kill from 1993. This sick Cat 3 movie about this guy who comes home and finds his wife cheating on him, but like he's too nice and is just like, hey, you should go do that on the bed instead of standing up. It seems like it'd be more comfortable. And leaves. It goes and like gets drunk, and while he's drunk accidentally puts a hit out on his wife. And then ends up getting himself like stuck in this like between like these two like gangs that are like trying to like just essentially like get money out of him after accidentally putting this hit out on his wife. And it's just like sort of sounds like one of those things like Uncut Gems, where it's just this constant escalation of like accidentally bad decisions that leads to like I won't spoil it. I have the file and I don't think it's like streaming anywhere. I might try to throw it up on YouTube and hope it doesn't get taken down because it's fucking great. But like the third act has one of the most insane like child deaths I have ever seen in a movie. And like Simon Yam plays like the like sort of like main bad guy in it, and he's just like incredible in it. I don't know, it rocked. It's so good. So I don't know if you follow us on YouTube, you might get to watch that soon. Wow, somebody literally on Letterboxd just rated The Lair 4 stars that I follow.
The fuck? Absolutely not.
There's a lot of people with bad taste. All right, shout outs. Katie, what you got?
This is like maybe less of a shout out and more of just a story, but when we were one of the days we went to St. Augustine, which was like one of my favorite places ever, but there's always this like people outside this like popcorn store like giving out samples, but they weren't giving out samples, and I was like, oh man, that sucks because they do whatever. So we went into the popcorn store, and I didn't realize it was like a crazy gourmet flavor popcorn store situation. And so they have like, I don't even know how many popcorns, like 30, maybe more than 30. And so they're like, yeah, what do you want to try? And they had like all kinds of crazy stuff. Like they had Mountain Dew, they had top sirloin, they had, I don't know, just like anything that you can think of. And so we tried like a bunch of different, we tried like a bunch of different ones. And I ended up getting dill pickle popcorn, and it was phenomenal.
Dill pickle popcorn
so
rules,
good.
but it's always like it's like almost never vegan. It drives me crazy.
Yeah, they did have some. Well, and so like you can order online from them. I think it was called Kernel Poppers, and they did have some gluten-free options, which I was like kind of surprised about. Some of the flavors like weren't super spot on. Like I got Samoa, like I didn't taste it there. Just because Samoas are like my favorite, and they weren't really like they were still good, but they didn't taste like Samoas. And Tiffany got the Mountain Dew, and it was literally the color of Mountain Dew, but it kind of just tasted like lemon lime ish. So it's like, you know, it's kind of like more inspired by, but it was just like really crazy. They had like a street corn one, they had hot wings. I'm trying to think of some of the weirder ones. They had I don't know. A lot of them aren't super weird to me because I feel like savory popcorn is like really in now too. But anyways, the dill pickle, oh, it's so good. It's very good. Highly recommend ordering dill pickle popcorn.
Oh yeah. What about you, Kit?
Like every week, I had something before I hopped on. I've completely fucking forgot what it was. So I'm gonna say shout out Ice Storms for getting me out of work for
I mean, that's pretty
potentially
rad.
2 days.
Yeah, that's amazing. That's like better than getting off school for snow,
right?
I think.
I'm like, eat that, everyone who works at home. All right.
Breaking news from 7 hours ago. Apparently, Roku and Tubi are going to become the streaming services of choice for all of the shit Warner Brothers Discovery is cutting off the HBO Max service.
No,
So
yeah.
all that shit that everybody had to pay for before, like Westworld, gonna be on that shit for free now. I'm like, Tubi.
Yeah, bro. Rokubi. It's time.
I would pay $8 a month to watch Tubi without commercials. But I feel like maybe if they do that kind of thing, maybe they'll get like worse shit like Netflix did, where Netflix used to have fucking cool shit back in the day.
Hard to know.
Go listen to the band Nothing. They're good.
Yeah.
That's my shout
P
out.
good.
Saw them live once. They were very loud.
Triple agreement.
Yeah.
All right. Next week, I think we're gonna try to do the Bollywood Scream movie.
I have faith in us.
Yeah, if we'll see if that works out. If not, Katie's picking something else. I don't know if she did.
Yeah.
But...
No, I have full faith in.
Yeah, it's called.
You-
We should do that. We'll do after it, the snake movie.
Yes.
Just do all movies that are just fucking sound effects.
Onomatopoeias, yeah.
Oh man.
Prepare to be sick of us because if we do I'm just gonna not stop saying it. This is an ASMR cast, okay?
No, thank you. We're done. I think that hits. What is it? Screambox.
Yeah, which I've never used or know what it. I don't really know anything about it. So
I've heard of.
Yeah.
I have heard of it only because of people like posting whatever.
It's like I think it's like Dread Central or Fangoria owns it or something like that.
Yeah.
So I don't know. I think I remember when it first like dropped. I went and looked at it and I was like, I don't want to watch any of this. But I don't know. We'll see. That'll be next week, or it'll be something else. Maybe it'll be a surprise.
Yeah.
Shallow Hal.
No. Absolutely not.
If you'd like to support us, you could join our Patreon at patreon.com/IHopeYouSufferPodcast. Go listen to Katie be real upset about Freddy got fingered.
Wow. I can't even preface my disappointment.
Surprise, Kit and I were very into it still. Banger movie.
She was disappointed there wasn't any actual fingering on screen.
Oh, okay.
As were we all.
No,
Yeah.
I don't think so. When we all learned the context of it, I don't think if you were disappointed, you should be in jail.
Please release the NC-17 cut of Freddy got fingered.
Release the finger cut.
Ew.
You can buy merch at our store Frontier shop. Leave us a rating on Spotify and a rating and review on iTunes. Tell us if you could eat a stadium full of giant monster meat. Follow us on Instagram at I Hope You Suffer Podcast. Follow Kit at Hidden Kitstery and Kitrification of Blood. Follow Katie at Werewolf Face and join Katie's Patreon at patreon.com/werewolfface. You can listen to my other podcast, 8K Movie Club. There's a new episode out on the Evil Dead remake, which is a very good movie.
Yeah.
Pretty interested to see if it. Like, I know they keep saying Evil Dead Rise doesn't tie into like either timeline, but I feel like they're leading us on, and I feel like it's going to be tied into the remake timeline.
Movie people are liars.
Yeah.
So
I mean, notoriously.
All right. Get ready for lots of baby next week. I hope you Jumbo Chef, but